Now, our next guest is opening what's called the Grow HQ, the National Food Education Centre. This is a private initiative. It's happening down in Waterford. And Michael Kelly, the founder of GIY, Grow It Yourself, is with us. Hello to you, Michael.
Good evening, Matt. How are you?
I'm describing it correctly, am I, as a private initiative?
Yeah, it is. We're a social enterprise. Kicked off in Waterford back in 2008. I think you had me on here back in the early days when we were just starting off. So fantastic to be back.
And you're still going.
We're still going, yeah, remarkably. So what started as a very small kind of community group in Waterford has now sort of expanded out around Ireland and the UK and really starting to have the kind of impact we wanted to have from day one. You know?
Which is what? What impact is it?
Well, I don't know if you remember back in the day, I kind of left the IT world and did the whole good life experience, you know, giving up the rat race and had a kind of a road to Damascus moment in a supermarket with some garlic I was about to buy and saw it was from China. And decided that was a bit bonkers to be buying, you know, importing food halfway around the world. But actually, when you look into it, that's kind of pretty common. Over 90% of the food.
Can you grow garlic in Ireland?
Yeah, remarkably well, and that's what I did. I started. I was kind of lucky. I started with garlic, in fact, because it's one of the easier things to grow. You take one clove, stick it in the ground, and it turns into a bulb over about a 6-month period. So that's what I did, and got kind of bitten by the bug of food growing. And I suppose what struck me at the time was, you know, had a huge impact on my own health and I suppose my overall just understanding of how food works. And
in what way did it impact on your health?
Well, just I suppose you get access to fantastic, you know, food at its most nutritious for one thing. But I think also, I mean, I'm not anywhere close to self-sufficient myself. But I think as a food grower, you make very different decisions when you do go to buy food. So, you know, you tend to buy more seasonal food, more organic food, more
less processed.
Yeah, less processed. And the more you work with food, I suppose, in its natural format, the more alien than a lot of the processed food that we have in our food chain seems.
But before I get to the Grow HQ, how much are you growing yourself for yourself?
I'd say we're probably maybe 50 to 60% of the fruit and veg we eat at home. So we don't. In GIY, I think we would always emphasise to people that that's, you know, it's not a self-sufficiency movement. I think what we feel is if we can get people to give it a try, even if it's only at sort of 5% or 10%, you know, that has a huge impact in other areas in terms of how healthy and how sustainably people.
But what
live.
are you growing for yourself and for your family?
Well, you can grow pretty much everything. I mean, I grow, I have a veg patch down the end of the garden. It's about 10 metres by 10 metres. And I grow the aforementioned garlic, obviously. I grow onions, beetroot, more unusual things, I suppose, like the kind of oriental greens for salads, like pak choi and things like that. So pretty much everything you could imagine you can grow very well.
And is it only for yourself or are you selling it on to other people?
No, I don't. It's only for ourselves. I don't sell it. But some of our members around the country would certainly be, you know, selling their gluts of produce and going to markets and things like that. Okay.
You're not making a living out of that though, are you?
No, I'm not making a living out of my own food growing. But what happened was I set up GIY, I suppose, as a response to kind of the potential I saw in food growing in general for people, but also that there was no support network for people like me that wanted to try it. There was nothing online. There was nothing I could join or be part of. So that's what GIY was. Originally, we just were a local community group in Waterford, and it's now developed into a social enterprise. So I work full-time for GIY, as do 8 other people.
And now you have this National Food Education Centre, which you're going to open when this year?
So it'll open in September. We started building last December. And really what it's about is creating a physical space that kind of where people can come and immerse themselves in the whole lifestyle, a place where you can go and learn how to grow food.
So describe it. What's it going to look like?
So it's in a really high profile location in the city in Waterford, a 3-acre site across the road from the hospital at Ardkeen, which people who know Waterford will know. And what it will be is a grow school. There'll be a cookery school there. There'll be a cafe and a shop where the food you're eating is being grown by us on the site. And really it's about, you know, helping reconnect people with where their food comes from. And ultimately it'll create another 12 jobs in Waterford and also, you know, really help us to scale up our impact and reach a lot more people with our message.
And what are you hoping then when people will come and visit you and just take the information and advice and go home and start growing in their own back garden?
Yeah, well, exactly. And I mean, the entry point, hopefully, for a lot of people, I think, will be just coming in for a meal. And like it'll be open, it's open to the public. We'll have, I think, food provenance is very important for a lot of restaurants now on, chefs and restaurants putting on their menus where their food comes from. This will be a kind of a hyper-authentic version of that, I guess, because all of the food there in terms of fruit and veg will be grown right on the site. So to me, that's an opportunity then when people taste what what it should taste like, and then hopefully be inspired to try some growing themselves.
Would it be all vegetarian? So
no, it won't. No, and I mean, I'm not a vegetarian, but I think what we will try and do is instead of it being maybe 80% meat, 20% veg, we might flip that on its head. There will be some meat, but the veg will be the star of the show.
Okay, so then maybe meat and poultry you'll be sourcing elsewhere.
Yeah.
For the cafe.
Yeah.
How are you financing all that?
So it's a great question. I mean, we've had to work very hard at raising the finance for this. It's a €1.4 million project in total. We're putting a 4,000 square foot building on the site. So we've had to come up with a lot of innovative ways to raise money. We've got fantastic sponsorship. We've got philanthropic investment. We've got some bank debt and so on. But the last 200 grand we've come up with this very innovative challenge called the Grow Circle Challenge, where we feel what we can do for people, I suppose, is show them how to grow food. So we're looking for 20 companies to invest 10 grand each. And in return for that investment over 3 years, we'll teach their employees how to grow food. So last year we ran this incredibly successful campaign called "Give Peas a Chance," which we thought was
boom boom,
which we did with Cully and Sully, and it was about getting people growing some food on their desk at work. So literally
on their desk,
yeah. And peas, obviously, the clue is in the title. That we chose peas as the veg that people could grow in a little pot on their desk, up to about a couple of inches high, and then eat the little pea shoots as in a salad or whatever, just to show people that food can be grown in very unlikely. You're not going to feed the world, obviously, but it's to give people, young professionals, particularly in companies, that first experience of growing their own food. So that's what we'll deliver in return for this investment. If for each of the companies that come on board, we'll teach up to 40 of their staff or customers or whatever how to grow food. And we've had a tremendous response. We're looking for 20. We've got 14 on board, and we're now looking for our last 6. So it's really kind of resonated, I think, for companies. The health of their employees is increasingly important, and so I think people are buying into that.
How about yourself? How many years is it now that you're out of what you called at the time the rat race? You were your IT consultant. How long are you out of that now?
10 years now in total. So,
and how has it been for you?
It's been great. I mean, I suppose I found a passion. I in my first book I called it a jobby, which is a sort of Billy Connolly had his own interpretation of what a jobby was. But for me, it's that kind of the connection between a job and a hobby, and if you're lucky enough, I think to find a passion that you can earn a living from as well, I think it's an amazing place to be, and that's what I do. I get to spend my whole time growing food, talking about growing food, encouraging other people to grow food.
And you had the book out as well, Grow, Cook, Eat, which you had lots of a guide to growing and cooking your own food, which you had lots of top-class chefs involved in.
Yeah, we did. We were brilliant, delighted to get people like Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall and Dun Skeen and Doreen Allen and so on to, I suppose what we wanted to do was bridge the gap between, you've got growing books in the bookshop and you've got cookery books, and we wanted it to be a blend of the two, because for me, food growing has always been, it's not a gardening activity. I'm not a gardener. I'm not Monty Don. It's always been about food.
You're not into the aesthetics of how the garden looks or anything like that?
No, I'm really not. I'm kind of, to me, it's all about the process of food growing. So if you ever visited my garden, you'd notice that.
Well, then to finish, what will Grow HQ look like? Is it not going to have a certain aesthetic charm to bring in all the people into the cafe and the restaurant?
It really is, but I'm not going to be doing the growing there. That's the good news. Or designing the gardens. So it'll be absolutely. I mean, it's got to be aesthetically right, and people have got to see that food growing can be, number one, done in an urban location, number two, that it can be beautiful as well, and that's the goal we've set ourselves.
Best of luck with it. You're opening in September.
We're opening in September. Can't wait to visit people, for people to visit us and show them our view of the world.
Michael Kelly, founder of GIY, thank you very much for joining us on the programme.